planning to propose to my GF, but having second thoughts because of her past. My name's Mikey, I'm 32 male and have a bit of a dilemma on my hands. And for some reason, like many before me, I'm turning to internet strangers. I don't know if I'm looking for advice, for someone to tell me my feelings are valid, someone to set me straight. I don't know. For 11 years, I was with Molly, 32F. We met at college, not the American kind, the British one, where you typically go between 16 and 18. Became friends, fell in love, and got together just after college ended. My oldest daughter, Lila, 14F, was just a baby. When we got together, Molly had her at 18, and the bio father has never been involved. When she was 4, I legally adopted her. We then went on to have 2 more kids, Tilly, 8F, and Milo, 5M. 4 years ago, around the time of my youngest's first birthday, Molly and I split up amicably. We remain really good friends and co-parent our kids well. We share a week on-off routine, however, our doors are always open on our off weeks. Our reason for splitting was simple. The romantic love we shared had become platonic. No arguments or fights, just a change in feeling. Molly has since moved on with a new partner, Megan, 29F, and they've been together for a year. This wasn't a shock, as she'd always been open about her bisexuality. Megan's great, and the kids love her. Not long after the breakup, I noticed a new girl start my gym. I knew she was new because if you train at the same time every day, you tend to get to know the regulars. Man, this girl stood out for all the right reasons. She was heavily tattooed, had this wonderful olive tint to her skin, had the most inviting brown eyes. She had golden brown hair, and she was thick in all the right places. If you were to draw my ideal woman, she was it. Honestly, I'm a solid 6. This girl was a 10 and way out of my league. She was also the type of girl you'd look at and just know that she was a nice person. She had the kindest eyes. For the next few weeks, we'd pass each other in the gym and curtly nod and smile at each other. Nothing you wouldn't do with anyone else. I'd try my best to steal a glance at her, while simultaneously trying to not look like a creep. One Friday morning, we both happened to be squatting in the racks next to each other. I'm very much a headphones on, dialed-in type of trainer, so don't really tend to make small talk. While I was putting my plates away out of the corner of my eye, I noticed she got stuck at the bottom of a squat and was in some bother trying to get up. As any normal person would, I ran toward her and helped her get the weight off her back safely. We finally got to talking.
Thank you so much. I thought I was gone there. Maybe I should take some pointers from you.
I'm Mikey, by the way.
I'm Anna. Lovely to meet you, Mikey. My knight in shining armor.
Lovely to meet you too, Anna. I start to walk away.
Hey, I was serious about those pointers.
I'm here the same time every day. Anna and I started training together every day, and on rest days, we'd be constantly texting. We connected on so many levels. We liked the same bands, same movies, TV shows. We started taking turns driving each other to and from the gym, and in the space of a couple of weeks, we'd become best friends. I knew that I was falling for her, but I couldn't imagine a girl like her ever liking a guy like me in that way. I came to find out that Anna was 30 and a tattoo artist who came from a Portuguese family. Her parents had moved to the UK before she was born. They own a restaurant in town. She had one brother and a son named Francisco, or Frankie, currently 6 million, who was the product of a holiday romance when she was visiting family in Portugal. Her son's father is as present as he can be and visits his son every couple of months. I obviously also shared my story with her, my job as a teacher, my kids, and my relationship with my ex. After around 2 months of becoming friends and getting to know each other, something wonderfully embarrassing happened. I was driving Anna and I home from the gym when Molly called. I was worried that it was about the kids, so I asked Anna if she'd mind me answering the call. Hands-free, obviously. She didn't. Molly sounded quite ill on the phone and proceeded to explain that her and the kids had come down with the flu. She then let me know that my oldest Lila wouldn't be able to come to watch Home Alone 1 and 2 in the park with me that weekend, a tradition of ours at Christmas time. She ended the call with, "Maybe you should ask that Anna you talk about all the time. It would be a lovely first date." Embarrassed, I turned to Anna to apologize, but before I could say anything, she just said, "I'd love to." The setting was perfect. They'd put a marquee up with a giant screen in the middle of Butte Park. It was decorated with tea lights, and we were given a soft mat to lay on with cushions and blankets to keep warm. Gradually throughout the evening, we got closer. She put her hand in mine, and eventually she ended up laying on my chest. Every laugh she let out caused an avalanche of butterflies in my stomach. Between the first and second movie, she looked up at me. I stared into those brown eyes, and without thinking said, "God, you're beautiful, Anna." She slid up and placed her palm on my cheek. I just said, "I'm sorry. I know you're way out of my league, but I..." She cut me off. "I've been waiting for 2 months for you to ask me out." She placed her other palm on my second cheek and pulled me in for a kiss. In that moment, I just knew. I loved her. We dated for 3 months before deciding to introduce each other to our families. My kids loved her. She's still Lila's favorite person. And so did my parents. The first time I met her family was, well, eventful in all the right ways. She took me to her parents' restaurant, where I'd meet her parents, Miguel, 55M, and Carolina, 56F, and her brother, Santiago, Santi, 25M. Her son was the star of the show. He was only 3 at the time, but I could already see my older girls doting on him, and my son and him being the best of friends. We hit it off perfectly, and the food was incredible. Having drunk a few too many Superbocs, Anna thought it'd be best that we stay above the restaurant in her old room. As we lay on the bed in my drunken stupor, I said, "I love you, Anna." She kissed my cheek and whispered, "I love you too. Now get done, sleep." I woke to see Anna sitting up awkwardly next to me. She asked if I really did love her, or if it was just a drunken slip of the tongue. I told her that I'd never loved a woman as much as I love her. She took my hand and said, "I need to tell you something." I was worried she'd cheated or didn't feel the same. What I wasn't expecting is what came out of her mouth.
Mikey, I love you, I really do. But if this is going to work, and I mean really work, then there's something you need to know. In my early 20s, before I opened my shop, I was working as an apprentice at a tattoo parlor in town. Tattoo apprentices don't exactly make a huge amount of money, and with my parents not being able to help me financially, I had to find other ways of making money. I decided to start making adult content under an alias to supplement my income. I never had any partners, just solo stuff, and to a degree, I enjoyed it. I stopped when I became pregnant with Frankie. I don't want us to have any secrets, and everything I posted has been taken down. Can you accept me even though that's in my past?
I just looked at her and smiled. "Of course I can, you idiot." We haven't looked back since Anna and Frankie moved in with us last year. We're still just as if not more in love than we were. Her shop's taken off, and I've been made the new head teacher of the school I've worked at for years. I've even bought a ring, and I'm planning to propose in 2 months' time, when we take the kids to the Christmas movie in Butte Park. But yesterday, something happened stirred up some feelings about my relationship with Anna. On a Friday afternoon, I tend to leave school early so I can pick my own kids up from their schools, head teacher's privilege, and we'll do some admin work in the evening to make up the hour missed. While I was browsing my emails, one came up with a link and a series of numbers. I don't know why, but I clicked it. It took me to a website that needed a PIN to enter. I entered the series of numbers from the email. It opened, and I was greeted with a banner that read, "Leaked, the forgotten hose of the internet, the featured model, Anna." I stared blankly at the screen for I don't know how long. Could have been 5 minutes, could have been an hour. Anna walked in and screamed, "What the fuck are you looking at?" I managed to calm her down and explain. I showed her the email. But as we tried looking into the sender's details, another email popped up. It had a sort code and account number as the subject, and a message that read, "I'm sure your children and the parents from your school would love to see what their wonderful head teacher's lovely girlfriend used to get up to in her spare time. Send 20,000 pounds to this account. You've got 8 weeks or this becomes public." I feel like I'm second guessing my whole relationship. I'm struggling to detach my Anna with the woman on the screen. Is that wrong? I never thought about Anna in that part of her life. I never thought I'd see it. And fuck, I haven't got 20 grand. Any advice? Planning to propose to my GF, but having second thoughts because of her past. Part 2. Hey Reddit, I'm back with an update. Before I get into it, I'll answer some of your questions. Easier to get it out the way quickly. Do yours and Anna's family know about her past? Yes, my dad and stepmom both know as well as my ex. So, do Anna's parents and brother? Are you still questioning the relationship? No, I wrote that in a place of confusion. I love Anna. Aside from the kids, she's my world. Anna's feelings about mine and my ex relationship? Anna and Molly, ex, have become great friends. Frankie Anna's son has started to call her Aunt Mole and will often spend time with my kids at her house. I'm sure she found it strange in the begging. Why didn't you go to the police? The biggest concern I have is more than one person being involved. If the police catch one, the other may leak Anna's content regardless. We also live in an area where trust in the police is low. For some reason, a lot of you want to know how heavily tattooed Anna is. And if I'm tattooed as well, she's got two full sleeves, her sternum, upper back, collarbones, and ankles tattooed. All of her artwork is in a floral fine line style. Yes, I'm also tattooed, two full arms, chest, and both shins. I prefer a traditional style tattoo. Hopefully that's all clear now. On with the update. So, after a couple of days, I decided to speak to my best friend for a bit of advice. My best friend also happens to be my dad, Paul, 53M. My parents had me at 20. Bio mom was pregnant at 19. When I was 3 months old, she decided that she wasn't the maternal type, so she booked it. Her family were never bothered either. When I was 5, he met my step-mother, Lana, 49F. They were both in uni studying nursing. Now the word stepmother will no longer to be used to describe Lana. She filled that maternal role perfectly. I call her mum, she refers to me as her son. Apart from DNA, in every which way, that woman is my mother. She's done nothing but love me since I was 5 years old. I think that connection I had with my mum was a big reason I was so happy to be a father to my oldest, Lila. Sorry, went off track there. So I spoke to my dad about what was going on, explained my concerns about Anna and my relationship, and the worry about the blackmail, etc. This is when he stopped being my friend and became dad.
Michael, I have never seen you so happy. She is the reason for that. You chose to accept her knowing her past, but now question it when you're actually faced with it? Look at the relationship she's built with the kids, what you've got with Frankie. Don't let something you've already known for the past 3 years ruin something special that could last your whole life. Don't worry about the money. We can sort that if needs be. But before you think about paying that money, remember how I taught you to deal with bullies. Hit first and ask questions later.
Those were the words that I needed to hear, and I knew he was serious because he called me Michael. He only ever does that when he's serious. It was a Saturday and my ex's week. So she had the kids. Frankie was also with them as they were going to a theme park, and Molly didn't want him feeling left out. I grabbed a few bottles of beer. Anna's a beer drinker, which for some reason makes her more attractive. Her favorite tonkatsu, and headed to the shop to meet her after work. I got to the shop, which had shut at this point, and couldn't find Anna anywhere. I finally found her sat under the counter sobbing. That killed me. It was the moment I knew that I would do anything for her. Any pain she felt, I felt. I put the food down, cracked open 2 bottles with my teeth, and sat on the floor beside her. Through her sobs, she spoke.
I never wanted you to see that part of my life. You must think I'm disgusting.
That person I saw on the screen is a part of you. Therefore, that person is a part of me, Anna. You're the love of my life. I love you knowing your past. I'll love you in our future.
You're not going to leave?
Nah. Slips a box between her knees.
What's this?
She opens the box, eyes widened. I was going to wait until the Christmas movie in the park, but I couldn't. Anna, I love you more than you could ever know. Want to be my gym partner forever?
Of course I will. I thought you were going to leave.
Never. So, yeah, I'm the 6 that's going to marry a 10. We told the kids. They were ecstatic. And we organized a meal with both of our families at Anna's parents' restaurant. There, we announced that we'd be getting married. They were all overjoyed. The mothers cried. The fathers were clearly emotional, but held back. Molly tearfully agreed to be my best woman. Santi, Anna's brother, came to me and put his hands on my face. So, I'm finally getting a brother then? He agreed to be a groomsman and to take on the task of organizing the stag. All in all, we couldn't ask for a better reaction. After the excitement settled, Anna and I decided to tackle the situation with the leak head on. For a little bit of damage control, we decided to tell the kids about Anna's past in an age-appropriate way, which was difficult. Tilly, Milo, and Frankie didn't really understand, but you could see that the conversation made Lila quite uncomfortable, as it would with any 14-year-old. My father's words rang in my head: hit first, ask questions later. So, after some discussion, Anna and I decided to fight back. We called Santi this morning, explained the situation to him, and asked for his help in finding who sent the email. For context, Santi is a heavily tattooed men's physique competitor. Not what you'd expect from an IT nerd, but he is. The guy's literally Clark Kent. If Clark Kent was a software engineer that taught coding by night. Anyway, I digress. He agreed to help us as long as he hasn't got to see his sisters. You know. He arrived around 4 hours ago, did a lot of IT stuff that I have no business even trying to explain. However, what really shocked me is that he was able to obtain the IP address of the sender of the email. From the IP address, he was able to find something called a host name. Essentially, he was able to find the network the computer that sent the email was attached to. Santi tracked the sender back to our address. From the IP address, Santi could tell that the email was sent from a PC. There's only one PC in our house, Lila's. Planning to propose to my GF, but having second thoughts because of her past. Part 3. Hello, it's been a couple of weeks since my last update, and it's been busy. There's a lot to cover, so bear with me. When we found out it was Lila who sent the email, we were absolutely heartbroken, Anna especially. They'd really bonded over a love of art, and Lila seemed to really look up to Anna, expressing that she wanted to be a tattoo artist too. She'd spend hours on Sundays sitting with Anna tattooing oranges and eventually fake skin. Anna was even considering letting Lila tattoo her on Christmas Eve, using a kit she'd had specially made for her. I don't think I've ever seen Anna so hurt. When we found out my kids were at Molly and Megan's place for the weekend, Frankie's dad was visiting for the week, so Anna and I decided to head straight over to my ex's place to confront Lila. When we arrived, our kids weren't too surprised, as it's quite a regular occurrence to pop over to each other's houses on our off weeks. Molly could see the look of anguish on Anna's face and pulled us to one side. We explained to her that we figured out it was Lila who sent the email threatening to leak Anna's old posts. She was obviously shocked, but insisted we have my parents take Tilly and Milo before we confront her. Once the younger two had gone, Anna, Molly, Megan, and I sat Lila down. Anna started.
Lila, I know, sweetheart. I know you sent that email to your dad. I've never felt so violated. Any pictures of me from back then were meant to be taken down. Gone.
Lila breaks down.
Pictures? What pictures? He made me send that email. He told me if I didn't, then he'd make sure he'd take me away from Dad.
The link in the email you sent Lila, they had pictures of Anna from a long time ago. The pictures were of Anna with no clothes. You should know that. You sent the email.
I didn't read it. He messaged me what to say. I didn't read it honestly. I just hit copy, paste, and send. I couldn't have him take me away, Daddy. Anna, I'm so sorry. I didn't know. I'm sorry.
Who's going to take you away, sweetie? Who's he?
My father?
What are you talking about? I'm here, Lila.
Not you, my biological father. I've got the messages to prove it. Please, I'm so sorry.
Silence lingered for a little while before Molly broke the ice. I didn't think you knew who he was, she said. For context, Craig, 40 million, or Lila's sperm donor, got Molly pregnant when she was 17 and he was 25. What we've been told by Molly is that he was an emotionally manipulative older guy who'd managed to convince her that they were in love. When he found out that she was pregnant, he ran. Didn't want the stigma of being the grown man that knocked up a teenager. Molly didn't know much about his family, but had heard that they followed him. Molly felt completely taken advantage of, and unfortunately, due to the age of consent in the UK being 16, legally there was nothing she could do. Disgusting, I know. Molly was sat looking almost numb. Megan moved closer to her and gave her a tight embrace before Lila spoke again.
He found me, Mom. I never needed to know about him. I knew enough about how he left. I've always had a dad, and when he threatened to take me away from Daddy, I got scared. I'm so sorry to all of you. I should have come to you first, but I thought I could make it all disappear.
It's okay, sweetheart. We've all got you. But you need to show us the messages so we can help. Lila went upstairs to grab her phone. She opened Instagram and showed us the messages.
It seems like Craig had been following Lila for a long time. He'd been keeping tabs on her through there, on a day where Lila had posted a picture of her and Anna. At the shop, he decided to message her. He introduced himself as an old friend of her mom's and questioned who the lady in the picture with her was. Lila had tried to ignore him, but the messages kept coming. She told him to leave her alone, but the messages asking about the lady in the picture wouldn't stop. Lila eventually messaged back bluntly, "It's my stepmother." He then replied, "But I'm single, Lila." Confused, Lila replied, questioning what he meant. This was his reply.
I'm not sure if your mother ever told you, but your father, Mikey, isn't your biological father. That's me, Lila. The reason I've not been in your life is because, truthfully, I never fancied being a father. But I'm in a bit of a bind, and I think you could help. Do you know who your stepmother is, Lila? I was a big fan of hers, you know? I think I still have all of her pictures and the videos. I'm sure the internet would absolutely love the return of Aurora Blue. What you're going to do for me is simple, Lila. I'm going to send you an email template for you to send to your dad. You're then going to send it from an anonymous email address, which should stop the email being traced back to me. I've got myself in trouble with some bad people. I need 20,000 pounds. Do this for me, or I will contest your adoption and have you taken away from Daddy Dearest and Sweet Anna. Do you understand? Message me back when it's done.
Lila was inconsolable. Anna and Molly comforted her. For some reason, seeing my daughter in this state washed all anger I felt away. I just wanted to console her, reassure her that she'd be okay. In those moments, everything else, all the outside noise was gone. It was time to be a dad. I got everyone's attention. "Lila, give me your phone." She gave it to me, and I simply put it in a drawer. I turned to Molly. "You know what to do. Lila and me will go get the snacks. You three can set up." Molly smiled at me. "Good idea." You see, when Lila was little, whenever she got upset, she would curl up in a blanket and watch a movie, typically something Disney. When Molly and I noticed this pattern, we decided to make it a family thing. I'd take Lila to the shop to get snacks and pop, and while we were out, Molly would turn the living room into a cinema. We always said to her that she should never be upset alone. This was something we've done with all our kids, even after the divorce. On the drive to the shop, I told Lila that the adoption meant that no one could take her away from me, and no one ever will. She sobbed for a while, and for the first time in a long time, the teenager sat beside me. Was my little girl. She needed her daddy. My heart broke for her, but at the same time, a part of me felt happy. Happy that she still needed me. The five of us spent the afternoon and evening watching some of Lila's favorite movies, and she seemed to cheer up. The next day, I'd come to a decision. Craig had hurt my daughter, Anna and Molly, so badly, it couldn't go unpunished. I took Lila's phone and messaged him, "This is Mikey, meet me at this address on the 30th of November, and we can talk about getting you your money. Come alone or the deal's off." I sent him the address of Anna's family restaurant. I'm not giving him any money. In fact, Santi, my dad, Anna's dad, and I have a plan for Craig. I'll update in a few days when the meeting's done. Planning to propose to my GF, but having second thoughts because of her past. Part 4. It's been 6 months since my last post. Sorry it's taken so long. Again, a lot to cover, so strap in. We'd arranged to meet Craig on the 30th of November. He arrived at the restaurant with a smug grin on his face. Like I asked, he came alone. I told mine and Anna's fathers, as well as Santi, to leave Craig and me in the private function room. They obliged but assured me that they'd be on the other end of the door. He sat on the table opposite me with his shit-eating grin, and our conversation began.
Have you got my money, Mike? I'm too old for this fucking Guy Ritchie sit-down you've brought me to.
We'll get to the money, Craig. I want you to answer some questions for me. Can you do that?
I'll humor you, but keep the old men and the geared-up nerd outside. Deal?
Fine by me. I just want to know why, Craig. Why you chose to stalk my daughter's social media. Why did you try and manipulate her? Why bring my fiancé into this?
How long have you got? My reasons for following Lila are probably not what you'd expect. I never had any more kids, Mike. Never really wanted them. But from time to time, I'll check up on your daughter, and picture what it would be like if I was her dad. I'd sometimes do it just for comfort, see what her life is like, see if she's happy. A few months ago, I borrowed some money from the Greeks, $10,000 to be exact. I used that money to pay off some debts I had to some of the roadmen on my estate. I've got a bit of a coke habit, Mike.
The day I messaged Lila, the Greeks had caught up with me. They told me I had 8 weeks to double their money, or there'd be consequences. And I can't imagine those consequences would exactly be pleasant, Mike. What the fuck has this got to do with my family?
I was getting there. After the Greeks came to my flat, I went back to my happy place to look at your daughter. And who do I see? Aurora fucking Blue. I was a big fan, Mike. I'm not just saying that. I must have been a subscriber for her whole adult career. She had everything. The body, the hair. Fuck me. How often do you see a porn star with kind eyes? Honestly, I probably spent the year or two she was online fantasizing about meeting her. Being her man, you know.
Please move on.
I'm fucking getting there. When Anna announced she was taking her sights down, I kind of scrambled to save as much of her content as I could. Save it for a rainy day, maybe? Well, that rainy day came, and at the same time, an opportunity presented itself. I knew Perfect Daddy Mikey was a teacher. A head teacher, in fact. What's the take-home, Mike? 80 grand? And I know that Aurora's got some of that slut money left.
As the words left his mouth, I'd cocked my right arm back and hit him square on the nose. I could feel his nose shatter as I hit him. Anna's father and brother bolted in and pinned him to the wall. He looks at me, spits some blood, and laughs. My money, Michael! Anna's brother hits him in his gut. There is no money, I replied. It was my turn to speak. You see, Craig, I never was going to pay you. I spoke to my school governors. They support me regardless of what happens. Anna and I have agreed to accept whatever comes out. We have each other, who cares? I'm living your dream, you sad little prick. The daughter you threw away, the woman you lusted over for years, mine.
I thought you'd say something like that. The leak's already out. 200 subscribers and counting since this morning. $10 a head. I'll get that money soon, I think. I just wanted to see if I could get any more out of you.
I pulled my phone out and stopped recording. I looked at him and winked. I told Anna's father and brother to do what they want with him. I don't, nor do I want to know what they did with him. Won't have been pretty. My old man and I just left. We picked up Anna and went to the police station. We handed in the evidence, and Craig was later charged. The charges included coercion of a child, extortion, and following a search of his flat possession of Class A substances with intent to supply. He's been sentenced to 10 years. Anna's old posts were taken down again. We just hope that no more comes of it. We're just thankful that the police actually came through for once. You could tell that Anna was still feeling down, but a few days later, an opportunity presented itself for me to change that. I received a call from the company running the Christmas movie in the park event. They were letting me know that it was canceled as only my family's ticket had been bought. I could see why. Christmas with the Cranks was being shown. In that moment, I had an idea. I asked to buy all the tickets for the evening, no matter the cost. I arranged for all of our family and friends to be there. I even flew her grandparents over from Portugal. On the day of the event, I had Molly take Anna out shopping and to have their makeup done, while I helped my in-laws prepare a load of food for the event. My parents had all of the kids while we prepped. When we arrived at the marquee, it was perfect. The same setup as our first date. Anna arrived shortly after, convinced by Molly to wear a white dress as planned. Frankie ran towards her and handed her a veil. Her father took her hand and walked her towards me. The surprise of the moment turned to realization. I took her hands in mine and asked, "Shall we do it then?" She smiled, nodded, and allowed me to brush away the tears. So yeah, that's how I ended up marrying the love of my life. It seems like the perfect places to end this update as I post this from the Algarve soaking up the Portuguese sun. Anna and I had our second wedding celebration yesterday with her extended family here. And before some of you ask, yes, we still had to watch Christmas with the Cranks, unfortunately. Life's good.
Story 2. AITA for hiding my family wealth from my boyfriend. So, I, 17F, have been dating my boyfriend Mike, 16M, for about 3 months now. We're both juniors in high school, and everything has been going really well between us. We met through mutual friends about 8 months ago and hit it off quickly. He's funny, kind, and down to earth. We have an amazing relationship, but our financial situations are different. My family is pretty well off. Not rich, no mansions, yachts, etc., but we live in a nice house, take 1 to 2 vacations per year, and I don't really have to stress about money. I only work just so I'm not sitting at home doing nothing. That being said, I've always been taught not to flaunt it nor bring it up. We drive normal cars and live a fairly average lifestyle, even if we have more savings than others. I never talk about money with people. Mike's family doesn't have as much. He's mentioned how they struggle sometimes to pay bills and how they have to budget for everything. Because of this, he's made a few comments about rich kids being spoiled or out of touch, which is why I didn't bring up my family's situation. I didn't want him to see me differently or feel awkward about the differences between us. I don't care what his financial situation is. I love him anyway. He's seen my house and knows my parents run a business, but he doesn't know about all my parents' assets, which make a lot more money and is what keeps us comfortable. So he doesn't know how much we really have. Well, recently, Mike and I had dinner with my family along with cousins. We all sat down and talked about traveling in general, and one of my cousins mentioned a vacation home my parents had. She was talking about the cabin we had in the mountains. Our family loves camping and hiking, so we vacation there sometimes. Mike went quiet, but I could tell something was up. Later, when we were alone, he asked why I never told him that my family had so much money. I tried to explain that it wasn't something I thought was important, and I didn't want him to feel weird about it. Besides, he knew I was more well off than him. He just didn't know the full extent. That's when he got a bit upset and said something that caught me off guard. He mentioned how I could have helped him out with some of the things he's been struggling with financially, like gas money or when his car needed repairs a few months ago. He said that he was not asking for handouts, but he said it feels like I was hiding something from him when I could have made things easier. I told him I didn't want to make things awkward between us by offering money, and I didn't think it was my place to get involved with his finances. But now, he says it feels like I wasn't being honest and that maybe I don't trust him enough to share that part of my life. Over the next few weeks, Mike started getting a little invasive. He looked up my house on Zillow and was shocked at the value. Mike showed me his screen and was upset that he didn't know how rich we were. He also started looking up my family members on social media sites to see what they do and how rich they are. Cousins, uncles, aunts. I got really mad and told him I didn't appreciate him digging through my family life and my finances are not his business. I asked him to stop being weird. Mike then responded he was just trying to fully understand what my lifestyle is like. But I think he's going completely off the rails. I didn't mean for it to turn into such a big deal. I was just trying to avoid making him feel uncomfortable or like he was less than me. I also believed my family finances are irrelevant. But now I'm wondering if I should have been more open from the start. Ita. Part 2. So when I made the original post, it was a few days after our argument. I wasn't going to post an update, but lots of people wanted one and stuff actually happened, so here we go. Yesterday, I called Mike and asked if we could meet up for coffee to discuss what to do next. He agreed. As we talked, I explained my family's finances are private, and it was not my business to tell other people. The money isn't even technically mine, it's my parents'. This is why I didn't tell him. Mike didn't take this very well. He asked me how I could just watch him struggle for months and not do anything, how I pretended to feel bad for him when I didn't even understand how bad his life was. I responded that I did feel bad and I have been supportive. I tried to get him a job at my parents' grocery store, but he didn't like it, so he refused. I would always give rides to him since gas was expensive. I offered gas money whenever he did drive me, but he always refused since he wanted to pay for me. Even just emotionally, I was trying to be as supportive as I could while he was stressed. I acknowledge that I don't understand how hard his life is because I've never lived it. But I've done my best to be supportive emotionally. Mike just dismissed all of that and said that wasn't the point. He said that for him, the money wasn't the issue, it was trust. He felt that I had kept something significant from him, and he's wondering what else I was hiding. He said that he wasn't asking for handouts, but knowing I had the means to help him but chose not to made him feel unsupported. Mike explained he felt like there was a huge gap between us now and he will never be equal to me. He told me there was no reason for me to hide such a big secret from him. At this point I got angry. I corrected him, saying he was asking for handouts. I mentioned our previous conversation of how he said that I could have helped with his car and gas. I explained the money he so desperately wanted wasn't even mine, it's my family's. I told him that he wasn't entitled to the money my parents spent over 2 decades earning. I couldn't just bail him out of whatever problems he has with money. I went back to how I did support him, just not financially. I'm ashamed to admit that I did kind of lose my cool here and almost started yelling. After that I calmed down and explained that I would never shame him for his struggles. My family never has either. They love him. We don't care about how much money someone has. We talked for some more, but I eventually told him I wanted to break up. It wasn't because he was upset I hid my wealth, but it was for digging into my family members' lives. I told him that it was extremely invasive and I couldn't forgive that and I couldn't feel comfortable around someone who would do that. It was a breach of trust for me. Mike also told me he wanted to break up since he didn't feel comfortable in a relationship where the financial gap is so big, and that our lives were just too different. We ended the conversation and parted ways. The good thing is he goes to a different school, so I won't be seeing him around. Part of me feels sad, since I do love him. It was my first relationship and I wanted it to work. But I also feel relieved because I wasn't sure if I could take whatever Mike would do if I stayed. I really didn't like him snooping in my family's lives. I'm wondering if I made a mistake ending the relationship now and it really sucks. Was I too harsh? I'm not even sure. I don't think I'll be dating anytime soon. I'm not too eager now. And just to be clear, I don't hate Mike. I do think that he probably just never saw money like ours or that he was just shocked in general. And I get that he is 16 and I'm sure he will grow out of this mentality. I hope he does have a better life, but I can't continue with him. I don't like that he tried to dig in my family members' lives. TLDR, we talked and decided to break up. I couldn't forgive him for digging through my family's lives like that and I wasn't comfortable to be with someone like that. Mike broke up with me since he felt our financial gap was too big to handle. It was a mutually agreed breakup. I also wanted to clarify some things. A lot of people were asking about the car. Mike's car is old and used, and it was gifted to him by his uncle since he doesn't use it anymore. It's about 8 years old. Mike didn't buy the car. Mike doesn't know the true value of my parents' money. That's why he was digging around. It seems like people on Reddit thought that I was perceived middle class or poor. I never was. Mike and others knew I lived a life that was well off. I just never talked about money, that's all. Mike does not know about my parents' other assets. He started thinking we had more money than he thought because he found out about the vacation home. That's why he tried digging through my family's information. He still doesn't even know close to anything since my parents keep their assets secret. Even I don't know them. People don't start digging into you until you give them a reason to. Okay, so apparently 8 years is not old for a car. Sorry, I don't know how cars work. But it's been heavily used anyway. Story 3. My F25 boyfriend, M28, cheated on me while drunk at a bachelor party and still having admitted to it. Should I just end things with him? My F25 boyfriend, M28, have been dating for about 3 years, and we currently live together. He has a brother, M31, who is getting married very soon. He is his brother's best man and of course was invited to his bachelor party. It is okay since I get along well with his brother and I'm invited to the bride's bachelorette party that will be later this week. Everything was okay, but like at 2 a.m. my phone started ringing and got a lot of messages. When I went to see what was it, I saw that one of the guys at the party took my boyfriend's phone and was sending me images and videos in real time of him having sex with a naked woman. He looked half dead and fainted while the woman was moving so aggressively on top of him and the other guys were cheering, throwing alcohol and doing other crazy things. The guy who took the phone was screaming, "Your boy is having so much fun right now." I tried to see what was going on and one of the first videos showed him receiving a lap dance from this girl while visibly drunk but very much awake. He kept sending me stuffs but I was so upset that blocked my boyfriend's number so they couldn't send me anything else. I tried calling his brother but didn't pick it up. Then I tried calling his dad, who wasn't at the party but I thought could help but didn't pick up either. I just cried for the rest of the night until I just fell asleep again. Then his friends brought him back home around 11 a.m. They had to help him walk, and after I opened the door they left him at the sofa and left. He just slept in the sofa and said nothing and woke up at 4 p.m. with a hangover and not remembering when he came back home. His phone was missing and he had no idea who could have it. We had barely spoken and I haven't mentioned the infidelity yet because I'm expecting him to be the first one to bring that up. But it's been 2 days and there is just silence and he looked kinda scared. Maybe he knows his friends told me and shown me everything and knows our relationship is over. If it is really over, but this is his fault and I don't want to be the first one to say the obvious. I need some help on how to move forward. I don't know if I should tell the bride what happened at the party. TLDR, my boyfriend went on a bachelor party and in the middle of the night someone sent videos and images to my phone from of him having sex with a woman while he was drunk. It's been 2 days and we still haven't spoken about his infidelity and I think my relationship might be over. Not to digress, but I think a background of how well you know his circle would be very useful. By the time you're making the big step, you should know about his crazy friends, or lack thereof, and the dynamics therein, and he should know yours too. I'm not blaming you nor giving him, his brother plus his friends a pass for what happened, but it seems you are oblivious to how wild these guys can be when they get together. The guy who took the phone was screaming your boy is having so much fun right now. I think it's safe to conclude that the friends, or at least the person sending the videos, was told or assumed that you permitted any shenanigans that may happen at that bachelor party. We can argue about how insane it was for them to believe whoever told them that, but we should acknowledge that unless sending you the videos was to jeopardize your relationship, the person sending the videos didn't see any harm in sending the videos. Again, that's a crazy thing for anyone to think, so it's back to how well do you know his circle. Sounds like a bunch of airheads at least. Even if you permitted the lewdness for one night, why send you footage of that? All that aside, I strongly suggest you first speak to his friend that sent you the messages, before you confront your BF. In your discussion with this person, inquire about who it was that okayed the naked woman, the intercourse, and what was said about your approval, or if they or your BF cared. I caution you to not speak in the context of anger but inquiry. You have every right to flip out, but that'll only have his friend hold back important information as to how/why all this happened. Otherwise, the company we keep is a reflection/manifestation of who we are. Unless under deception, nobody is around people that they shouldn't be with. This situation will reveal to you about who you're about to spend the rest of your life with, if you smartly inquire. I know him and his brother are still close with his college friends and they were wild and funny in college, but then most of them settled down. Story 3, Part 2. Ada for not believing my ex-BF story about what happened at his brother's bachelor party and telling the bride. Hello Reddit. I, F25, had a boyfriend, M28, until some days ago. I've told this story like too many times IRL already and I'm tired, so I'm gonna be quick. He went to his brother's bachelor party. I thought it was going to be okay since his family and friends were there. Until around 2 a.m. where I started getting messages on my phone. Someone took his phone and was sending me videos and photos of him having sex with a woman. The guy who took his phone even said, "Look how much fun your boy is having." Then they brought him home the next morning and he slept till the afternoon, not remembering anything. After 2 days of silence I confronted him about what happened. He said that didn't really know. I showed him the videos I was sent from his phone by someone else. He looked horrified and said was almost basically unconscious. The problem is that he is clearly hard and I have a hard time believing it could be so hard while drunk, so I told him he wasn't telling me the full story. He said that they were drinking, they brought that girl so make the party funnier for the guys, and next thing he remembers wakes up at him in the sofa. When he gets drunk, his body loses strength and then falls asleep, so he being hard is what makes me not believe him. We had an argument, he was crying and saying wouldn't cheat on me on purpose, but his story had so many holes I couldn't take it. He begged me to believe him, but I had way too many videos of him having sex with a random woman to even look at him in the eye, so I left and went to my sister's place. I then phoned the bride to tell her what happened at the party. Next thing is so many of the guys at the party had a lot of explaining to do and the wedding ended up with half of the initial guest list attending. My ex-brother has berated me for ruining his wedding and I've been told that my ex is way too depressed because of what happened, and he blames himself. I've been told that I've destroyed him, but I can't stop thinking about the videos and imagining the other woman jumping on him while the guys cheered. So I wonder if I'm the aholy in this whole situation. I'm just feeling terrible for everything. Edit. About what everyone is saying happened to my ex, I addressed that on a post on my profile. I think is too hard to talk it right here. Also the wedding already happened, ended up with way less guests that they expected because many people said they wouldn't go after hearing what happened at the party. The bride wanted to postpone it but they couldn't get refunds on anything so they did the wedding more or less as they planned. The bride's bachelorette party also happened. I was invited but didn't go. Of course I didn't go to the wedding. I'm in good terms with the bride, but her new husband says I ruined everything. Update. Okay, IDK where I could post this, so I'm doing it on my profile. So many people on my previous posts has repeated over and over that my ex was raped, but I still don't understand it. Yes, he looked like was unconscious at the party and in the videos, but seriously, is the being hard part that keeps me wondering. Some has said Viagra might do it, but combined with alcohol. When alcohol dilutes everything in the blood and makes every med nor be effective. And I've been sexually assaulted in the past. I know what it feels like and how it messes with your head, but I was fully overpowered and the only thing I was able to do was screaming, and that didn't help. I know technically men could be raped if they are penetrated, but I have a hard time understanding how the one who penetrates is being raped, because that is the most important part about rape. Also, my ex haven't mentioned being raped once. He said that wouldn't cheat on purpose, so he admitted that it was cheating even if he doesn't remember it. I'm no expert, but I think I know more about getting assaulted than most people commenting. I don't wish it on anyone, but I just still don't see how is that SA. I came to Reddit to clear my mind, vent, and ask if I did the right thing, because the end of my relationship has been so hard on me and I still need to deal with picking some of my stuffs at the place we shared together. I've been crying a lot and feel sorry for him. I'm sorry if I offended someone. Anyway, I hope some of you can understand my situation. I've had some few nice words and some support on my DMS. Thanks. Story 4. French girl saves my sisters from a creep. My sisters, 19F and 23F, and I, 25M, were on vacation in Paris. After doing the normal touristy things, we decided check out this super cool looking rooftop bar and club. Fast forward, we've all had a few drinks, made some new friends, and we're dancing, poorly, I might add, our hearts out to the late 2010s American party music. The dance floor of this bar happened to have a pole on a raised, box-shaped platform that anyone could get up and dance on. After seeing several other drunk people get their groove on using said pole, my sisters and I decided we'd like to try it out, cause why not? My youngest sister, 19F, handed me her phone and asked me to record a video of her and my other sister dancing on said pole. They get up there and are killing it, just having a blast while I drunkenly do my best recreation of a professional videographer. I was getting killer angles, doing a traveling shot, the works. I was determined to make this video amazing. It was then a random woman from among the crowd notices and starts to yell at me and push my arm down. She was speaking French, and I had no idea what she was trying to tell me, but I caught on pretty quickly as to what she was doing. I tried to explain over the music that those girls were my sisters and they asked me to film a video of them, but I don't think she understood me or just didn't hear me. Thankfully, my sisters noticed and came to my rescue, hugging me and taking the phone back. It was enough to reassure the random girl that I wasn't some random creepy dude taking an unsolicited video of two girls dancing on a pole in a club, but she still eyed me with a wary look. Luckily, my sisters and I were able to laugh about it later and were actually thankful that someone was able to confront a person they didn't know, who they thought was doing something inappropriate. Wherever you are, random French girl from the open-air club, I'm thankful you did that, even if it made me feel incredibly awkward and panicked for a little bit. If it hadn't been me filming them, she would have potentially saved my sisters or some other woman/man/person. You are a hero, and I hope you're doing well. Story 5. I told my roommate/friend that he was baby trapped by his GF and I don't regret it. I told my roommate/friend that his girlfriend was baby trapping him and I don't regret it. All names have been changed for privacy. I, 25F, moved in with my close friend Sarah, 24F, and her boyfriend Dan, 27M. We worked for separate contractors in the same warehouse, but we all had the same job and made good money for our age. I fought really hard for the place that we wanted and had to step up and be the adult when it came time for rental applications and finding a place. They were not much help, but I found a place that we all liked and moved in. I also had to pay for her part of the deposit when we moved in because she didn't have the money together yet, but I was excited about the place and didn't want to miss out on getting it. Edit. We had been preparing to move for a couple months. She eventually did pay me back after almost 2.5 months and took a small vacation before doing so. Everything the first couple months went great and we were all getting along very well. We had game nights and had fun cooking with each other. During the 4th month I was being woken up every morning to the sound of my female roommate throwing up very loudly. After a few days of this I finally mentioned that she should take a pregnancy test and her boyfriend agreed. I knew they were excited about being parents someday, but before we moved in together I made it very clear I did not want to live with a baby and they both agreed they didn't want them yet. She went to the bathroom and took a test. When she came out, she held up the test. I had misread it and thought it was negative and visibly was happy and relieved. When she pointed at the test and I looked closer, I realized it was positive. I went completely silent and went to my room and closed the door. My boyfriend was in my room and had heard the whole conversation, and he was also at a loss for words. I was incredibly worried because although she was my friend, she is a very irresponsible person. Which only got worse after she found out she was expecting. I knew she would want to keep it, and I was supportive the best I could be because she is my friend, and I knew her boyfriend was amazing and always knew he loved her very much and treated her well. He is an extremely nice and fun guy who me and my boyfriend had become good friends with. In the past, her ex-fiancé had made her get an abortion because they were very young and they wouldn't be able to handle a child yet, and a year after that she had had a miscarriage, I think probably due to her ED, which she had gotten better with since me and her current boyfriend had entered her life, and she was always very excited to tell us when she had gained a few pounds every now and then, and we would make sure to let her know we were proud of her. She had told me a while before that she was on the same birth control as me, which is an implant that goes in your arm and is one of the most effective birth controls that you can have. My doctor had explained to me a long time ago about the importance of getting it removed if I ever got pregnant and was planning on keeping the baby, not to mention to go to the doctor and make sure the pregnancy was not ectopic, which can be very dangerous. She went to the doctor the next day and found out that she was 12 weeks along, which came as a shock to me and Dan that she was already 3 months pregnant and that she hadn't noticed considering she'd been pregnant before, but I knew it was not unheard of. When she came back, I was disappointed that she hadn't gotten any sonogram photos. Although this pregnancy was a huge inconvenience, I was still a friend and was excited for her. Then she had become a very big burden. She didn't clean up after herself. She was still using her vape, smoking devil's lettuce while pregnant, and would still drink an aggressive amount of caffeine, was no longer taking care of her cat. She completely stopped cleaning his box and cleaning up after him, not to mention would go days without feeding him or giving him water. The next day while I'm at work, she sends me a very long message about how her and Dan are moving halfway across the country to be with her family and that they would be moving in a month. I was absolutely infuriated by the message and how she seemed to think it wasn't a big deal to leave me with all the bills and rent that I would barely be able to afford on my own. Also, her boyfriend and I were the only ones on the lease and he was still responsible for rent. When I got home, I explained very calmly how our lease works and then left the room to avoid yelling at them. Dan told me later he agreed that moving right now wasn't fair and that it wouldn't work, and he agreed with me that they would stay. As a concerned friend, I asked if they removed her birth control, and she sidestepped the question by saying that the nurse there didn't think it was a big deal and the OBGYN she went to did not have the equipment to remove it at that time. I have just recently gotten mine replaced and knew that all they did was use a scalpel to remove it. It was a small cut that didn't even need stitches when I got it, so I was a little confused but brushed it away and let her know that she needed to get it removed and that I would even pay for it. She couldn't afford it and knew that she didn't have insurance. This began as a heated topic that she would constantly avoid. I asked if I could see her arm, because I have the same one and it is very noticeable and easy to feel it and even see it sometimes. I felt around her arm and couldn't find it or even the small dot scar that I have from when I got mine. I started to get suspicious but didn't want to think she would lie about something like this. When I got mine, they always make sure to tell you that if any point you can't feel where your implant is or can't find it, that you should go to the ER immediately. In case it went somewhere in your body that it wasn't supposed to. Being a paranoid person, I got increasingly concerned about it, that it could end up injuring her or even unalive her if it moved somewhere dangerous, which is unlikely but has happened before with these kind of implants. She didn't seem concerned about it and went back to her room. It started out as me being a legitimately worried friend and what that could do to her health or the baby's health. But I admit I was already getting suspicious. Sarah finally admitted that her implant had hit its 5-year expiration date in February, which is around the time when she got pregnant, and it is recommended to get it replaced every 3 years but lasts up to 5. Her boyfriend seemed annoyed that she hadn't told him that it was expired. Dan and me were alone in the kitchen and he asked about the birth control and how it worked since I also had it. I explained it all to him about the side effects if she can't find it, also while telling him how dangerous it could be. I was hoping he would help push her to get it removed as soon as possible. He agreed with me very much and also showed concern because he had felt her arm and couldn't find it either. 20 minutes had gone by and we heard her bedroom door open. She came downstairs and asked him what was taking so long, and she seemed frustrated that we were talking alone and quietly. He went back up to their room with her and I left it alone and went to my room. I then did something I'm not totally proud of. When I got up to use the bathroom, I could hear them talking in their room. I wouldn't have cared, but I could hear they were talking about me. So I got closer and started listening to what they were saying. I was known to have a beer or two when I came home from work. I could hear her blaming the things that I had said on my drinking, which upset me a lot. She continued saying things that didn't make sense, trying to discredit me any way she could. Especially since I was only telling Dan how the birth control worked because he had asked. I didn't see what the big deal was. She had quit drinking a couple months ago because she realized she was doing it too often, and then I realized when she quit would also have been around the time that she got pregnant. So I started to wonder if she had known about her pregnancy longer than she said. Too many things were adding up, and it started to make my suspicious thought get even worse. She finally went to the urgent care I recommended to get her implant removed. She was getting tests done. They discovered that she had a kidney infection and she would be staying at the hospital for a few days. When she was cleared and came back from the hospital, I asked if they had removed her birth control yet, and she said they didn't get to it because they were focused on her kidney infection. She started making any excuse to stay at her friend's house and would take Dan with her. I started to consider that she didn't want him anywhere around me and my boyfriend because we both shared similar suspicions and she didn't want us talking to him. Side note, at any point during the situation we had not told him anything other than how the birth control worked. I wouldn't see them for days at a time, and if I did it would only be for a brief second. She had completely stopped working and Dan was drowning to pay his and her part of rent and bills at this point. She claimed she got suspended at work, but I have a strong feeling that she just quit and didn't want to work because she wouldn't get a new job. Bills have started piling up. Whenever they did pay me it was usually late, and I started working more and even found a side job just in case. Tensions had died down and we were all getting along agey, and for the most part, me and her were just talking about pregnancy stuff and about how she was feeling. We got on the topic of her previous pregnancies. She told me that her abortion was 4 years ago and her miscarriage was 3 years ago. We talked a little more and then I went back to my room. My paranoid brain started going in circles because if she has had the implant for 5 years, that means that she had it during her other 2 pregnancies. Would it even be possible to get pregnant 3 times while on it? I called my cousin the next day who works for an OBGYN and explained what was going on. She said that that would be next to impossible on that method of birth control. I finally had to come to terms with the fact that one of my best friends lied about being on birth control to Dan and me. About a week later, Dan needed a ride home from work because Sarah was using his car to go to her friend's house. We work at the same building and I drove him home. He had been constantly stressed out, so I offered him a beer and made dinner for both of us. We were talking about the pregnancy and he had shared that he was worried he was getting baby trapped. I asked how honest he wanted me to be about my opinion and he told me to not hold back. I explained every big and tiny thing that wasn't adding up. I then told him yes, I think he was baby trapped. He is a great guy and I know no matter what he would be a dad to that kid, but I don't think he should trust her. They have only been together for less than a year. He started talking about their anniversary that was on November 27th. I froze in my seat and asked carefully if that was the anniversary of their first date. He said no, that was when they made things official, but they had been seeing each other since late October. I got very nervous and told him that at a Thanksgiving party she had slept with one of our mutual friends and that it sounds like she borderline cheated on him. Sarah and him have been sleeping at her friend's house almost permanently and plan to start driving across the country tomorrow. They told me they would still help me pay rent after they move since they will be living with her mom for free. But I'm not gonna hold my breath since they still owe me money. Update: they moved across the country a few days ago and have left a lot of their stuff behind, including furniture, books. Her book collection was always something she was proud of, both of his guitars and expensive longboards, and didn't bother cleaning up their room when they left. I haven't heard from them since really, but a female friend at work I ran into yesterday saying that Sarah had swung by the building before they moved to say goodbye to a few friends and that she was showing off her baby bump. She had also told all of our friends that she wasn't working because Dan wanted her to be a stay-at-home mom. Which I knew was a lie because he had been drawing in bills and begged her to get a job. I made sure to straighten the story out for the people at work about how she told him she was on birth control when she wasn't. Also about how she had financially screwed me over in the process by abandoning me with all the bills and rent. Her current lie that she is running with is that during her miscarriage a few years ago that the doctor had removed her arm implant without telling her. But I know that is almost impossible. When they removed and replaced mine, my arm was sore and bruised/bandaged up for almost a week, so it seems unlikely that she wouldn't have noticed, and even more unlikely that the doctor would do that without telling her. Second update/clarification on some questions. Me and Dan were good friends and I would always feel guilty if I had not told him the truth, especially because he asked for the truth. Me and her were very close friends. I only ever shared my opinion with them when asked and shared my concerns when I was worried about her health. The 3 of us living together was to help them escape individual bad living situations. Yes, I know cleaning cat boxes when pregnant is not good, but cleaning them daily and washing your hands after is safe according to OBGYNs. Story 6. Story of how I found out I have a brain tumor after brushing my teeth too much. I, F20, am someone that has been struggling with depression for some time. When I was 17, and when this story takes place, I wasn't brushing my teeth as much as I should have because of said illness, so, since I hated how yellow my teeth looked, I had the brilliant idea of vigorously brushing them for a while, hoping that would have changed their appearance. So, one evening, I did exactly that. I brushed my teeth so much until my gums bled and I was spitting more blood than toothpaste. After 20-30 minutes of brushing, I simply went to bed. I noticed that my face felt a little weird, but I fell asleep without worrying too much about it. The next morning, after looking in the mirror, I froze. I couldn't move half of my face. My right eye couldn't close, the right part of my lips couldn't move to form a smile. Panicked, I showed my dad what happened, and the next day he brought me to the hospital. We both didn't have any idea of how that happened. At that point I still didn't think my symptoms were related to the stupid thing I had done the night before. The doctors ran some tests on me to check if my paralysis was caused by some neurological issue, but fortunately it wasn't. My right facial nerve was damaged, and I had to go through a lung treatment to heal it, consisting of taking supplements for a month and a half and getting cortisone shots for 10 days. I realized I caused that to myself after the doctor said that usually your face starts to become paralyzed after only 1 hour, and 1 hour before I showed symptoms I was brushing my teeth. Skull. After the diagnosis they scheduled an MRI of my upper body to check if everything was alright, just to be sure. I went in there feeling alright, not expecting anything from that scan, but I realized something was wrong when, after I got out, they made me go in for another round, this time after injecting some contrast liquid. It's the exact scientific name, but it's a liquid that makes it easier for doctors to read the scans. After finally getting out of that machine they immediately made me go through a CT scan of just my head to get a better look at it. Me and my dad were seriously worried at that point, and you can imagine our reaction after the doctor said the words brain tumor to us. Fortunately, it's not a tumor we needed to worry about. It's a tiny mass staying on my pituitary gland, responsible of creating hormones. It was so tiny that they couldn't even proceed to remove it by pulling it out by my nose. LMAO, and it was benign. Harmless. Now, the only thing I need to do is having a yearly checkup to see if the tumor is growing, and after 3 years I can say that that tiny thing will not bother me for a while. So, if you want to learn something from this story, I would suggest to not do the same thing that I did. In my case it was also a weird way to find out I have a brain tumor, but dealing with an half-paralyzed face for almost 2 months wasn't fun at all. LMAO.